Three, two, one. All right, welcome once again to HeroQuest fans. We're back. So thankfully, there's no fire. I think somebody just was burning dinner in my building, so sorry about that. Hope I didn't worry anybody, but it is winter here, and the air is dry. Got myself a little throat lozenge, and yeah, it's a little dry. Got the heaters going. Can't be too careful, you know. So anyway, yeah, I was talking about Legacy of Sorcel. So Legacy of Sorcel was actually billed as HeroQuest 2. Like HeroQuest 1 was the PC game. You know, and when I say PC, everybody thinks, Windows. Well, back then it was MS-DOS. So you had the DOS version of the game, which had cutscenes. It's HeroQuest 1, so to speak. Then you had the Amiga, you had the Atari ST. I think, let's see, was it ZX or ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPC, Apple II, GS, whatever, 2E, 2C, 2 Plus, whatever. So you had all these different versions. Then you had the Famicom game, which was never released, NES, prototype, which is out there. But then you had HeroQuest 2, Legacy of Sorcel. And Legacy of Sorcel, I've never actually played it. I would need to get an Amiga CD32 or Amiga computer emulator and track down the ROM, or buy myself a very expensive, vintage computer or a CD system. Excuse me. Cheers there, dead gamer. Got my water here. Not drinking tea this time. Anyway, yeah, so I'd have to do all that. Plus, from what I've seen people live stream the game, and it's very long. It's very tedious. Unfortunately, it's not, excuse me, quite as interesting as the HeroQuest we're used to, because it's not based on the board game. I mean, it's its own game. The interesting parts of it, though, is the new content. So there's all kinds of new spells, all kinds of new monsters. Apparently, there's no orcs, goblins, or fimers in it. And some people were saying, it really feels like they were getting as far away from Warhammer Fantasy with this one as they could, and putting in like Dungeons and Dragons style stuff. Like there's beholders, those big eyeball monsters with the tentacles and everything. And there's like vampires and just all kinds of weird stuff in there. But you've got the four heroes, and even though some of them have different names, it's obviously the dwarf, the elf, the barbarian, and the wizard. But then you've got four others. You've got a paladin, which is a male knight. You've got a ranger, like a rogue type guy, and you've got a mystic who is like a female wizard who can use like a sword, a pirate sword, and then you've got a cleric. When I hear cleric, I think like monk, like a medieval monk, but it's this lady. She's like, I don't know, some type of priestess or another like female magician type character. But yeah, they all have different stats and different abilities, and the abilities are different than the regular game. It doesn't translate one to one exactly. And the thing about it is the maps for this one are huge. They're gigantic. And since it's a computer game, there's no Zargon or Morcar player. In fact, I don't think Zargon, let's see, is Zargon even in it? Mentor is definitely not in it. It's some other person that gives you the mission. And there's like two talismans of lore, and there's this big map that you go through. But the areas are just huge. So there's a lot of just move, 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 move. Like if you were to try to recreate that in the board game setting, it would be really boring, I think, because you just have huge stretches of just nothing, just wandering around, a lot of outdoor areas. So you'd be using a lot of like custom maps and maybe modular tile dungeons and all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, anyway, there was a project quite some years back on Yield forums, and I keep forgetting to mention Old Scratch. Old Scratch was a forum community that I was not part of, but it was really big. About the time Dwayne Agan's in, and then Dwayne Agan's in went away, and then Yield replaced it, and Old Scratch kind of went away. So it's like one of those OG communities for HeroQuest on the World Wide Web. So rest in peace, Old Scratch. But anyway, yeah, some of those people are still around. that created content. So anyway, there's an old project to try to translate as much of the game that they could into the board game realm because there was no physical board game of Legacy of Sourcil. But they didn't get very far because they just realized, wow, this is like there's no easy way to transfer the data from the game. So you just have to play it. And since the game was very tedious and difficult, not a lot of people were willing to just put in the kind of time to do it. So it kind of stalled and kind of went away. But more recently, Hispazargon and several other people are just like, let's try it again, you know. So they're drawing out, different spells, different artifacts. One that so I back in the day, I read the manual because the manual's online for Legacy of Sourcil. And I just got the oh yeah, and you can go to Eolden forum and read up all about this stuff. But yeah, I read the manual. I thought, oh, I kind of like the idea of these 4 heroes, these extra ones. So I made my own paladin, my own ranger, my own mystic, and my own cleric. Not exactly like in the computer game, but inspired by it, let's say. And I also like the idea of the boots of speed. And I put the boots of speed as an element card that you can find in the lone monster deck. Somebody else came up with this concept, like, oh, you can parlay with the enemy. So if there's one monster in a room, you haven't attacked each other yet, you draw a card, and it's kind of like a secondary treasure deck. Of course, most of the time it's something bad, but it could be something good, like the monster runs away and he leaves a bag of gold behind, and oh, you can get that. Or he jumps. My contribution was, oh, he jumps right out of his shoes and leaves behind the boots of speed, which give you 2 extra movement squares. Because movement's always an issue in HeroQuest. Oh yeah, I'm catching up on old messages here. How do we get to vampires? Yeah, that's Shadzar. Welcome, Shadzar. Yeah, the Dreamcast was pretty awesome. I liked it. And people say of the Dreamcast, oh, it was just a bunch of arcade games. That's not true. There were RPGs, there were more elaborate games in there. But the sad thing about it was when the Dreamcast stopped officially making games in 2002, because it only started in '99, they didn't release the full specs and hardware to the community. It was just like you could make your own games for the Dreamcast very easily, but they were only like CD-ROM games. They weren't the GD-ROMs, so you were limited to the 700 megabytes instead of 1.5 gigs. So you ended up getting games that were a lot simpler, and so they were just like scrolling shooters or like retro style Japanese RPGs. But there's still some great games for the Dreamcast. I liked it. Yeah, it certainly can't compete with like Xbox 360, PS3, but compared to stuff at the time, it was pretty good. But the Amiga CD32, I never had it, and I wouldn't have had it because it was so expensive at the time. It was one of those systems that kind of came and went. But anyway, so we've talked about the Japanese stuff, the Legacy of Sorasil. It's probably going to be years before that Legacy of Sorasil stuff gets done. But their goal is to basically translate everything from the video game into the board game, some type of usable board game format. That'd be great. That'd be cool. That'd be awesome. That's a great project. I'm not going to be involved in it because I'd have to be just sitting there playing Legacy of Sorasil all day. And from what I've seen, it doesn't look like my cup of tea. I mean, I played the computer game of HeroQuest, and that was bad enough. So anyway, and I've seen some live streams of it. But back to the Lost Quests. So the Dwarf Quest Pack and the Wizard Quest Pack. So Luca Pashi, he is scanning and photographing, and he said there's hundreds of pages of the stuff that he's got. And it seems to be pretty much all that was released, except for what they call the 4-ups, the 3-ups or the 4-ups, which are these large sculptures, these large plastic sculptures of the figures. Now we do have photographs of those that Toka, not Taco, posted on his website like 10 years ago. And those are pretty cool. Some of them are a little odd, but we've seen those on, I think Les Donante reposted those on his blog recently. So those are all over the forums. And some of them are missing. So the female wizard is missing and the Yeti is missing. Because I guess was it like the wives of one of the designers thought that he looked like Bumble, like Humble Bumble, the abominable snowman from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Thought he was cute and kept him. I don't know what happened to the wizard, but we do have sketches of those figures too, and some people have made their own versions of them or found analogs and other stuff. Man, it's dry in here. Sorry, losing my voice again. But yeah, so the plan someday is for there to be a physical version, I mean, as much as possible, of the dwarf and barbarian or the dwarf and wizard quest packs that fans could just play. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, well, some of that stuff they'd have to actually create the art because it doesn't exist. Some of the stuff is still owned by Hasbro, I guess. So they'd have to like recreate it using other things. So maybe you'd get some Reaper miniatures or sculpt your own, 3D print some stuff to represent what it is. But I think it's cool because not only do you get the history lesson from what might have been, but as a fan, you could kind of come up with your own solution of completing it and then playing it at your game table as if it were like a real quest. Like the closest thing you get to more official Hero Quest material, but not from the remake era, from the classic era, like 92, 93, when it would have come out. So I think that's cool. And yeah, with the Dwarf Quest pack, there'd be a lot of guesswork, a lot of fan created stuff to fill in the gaps because it's only 50 or 60% completed. The other thing that Luke Apache is doing is like among the notes, it's not just those two, it's also Elf Quest pack and Barbarian Quest pack stuff. So you get little insights in what they were thinking when they were making those quests because they're not perfect. There's a lot of like, as we know, mistakes, failure to play test type of stuff that we as fans would have been like, listen, that's not a good idea. Here's why, or here's a quick fix that would solve that issue. That's not how it works. So I think there was a question in the chat. Are we live? Yes, we are. Just living. Okay. So that's pretty much all I've got. Oh, no, there is something more. So we're constantly complaining about the HeroQuest companion app. Well, I haven't been, but some people have, let's just say. So they marketed this as a companion app, and I see that that's exactly what it is. So I posted up a quick video. I can grab it off of my YouTube channel here. So let me just give you the quick video. And I really didn't do anything spectacular with it. It's just a quick, like I was able to borrow a family member's smartphone because I don't use one myself, and just like install it, fire it up, and just kind of mess around with it. And then it's like, okay, I deleted it. And it's funny because the next day, I swear it was the next day, I saw that Shadzar had posted his update, and it was literally they had added Keller's Keep and Return of the Witch Lord to it, which previously were not available. It was just the game system, and the other stuff was like coming soon. So let me just get to my other screen so you can see. Okay, there we go. So we'll just do this old thing. This is YouTube. And yeah, there was no sound, so I just threw some of that royalty-free music over the top of it. Do I have to acknowledge this guy or I'll get banned? Just in case here. I'm a Man Who Will Fight for Your Honor by Chris Zabriskie for the Creative Commons. Anyway, sorry, let's back up a little bit here. Yeah. So, as you can see here, it includes the 4 classic heroes. There's 4 hero slots, okay? So you could play a quest with 1 to 4 heroes. Zargon is completely automated, so there's no GM player needed. That's the selling point. But for each of those spots, so you could have the male or female barbarian, male or female elf, male or female dwarf, male or female wizard, or you can do the mentor wizard. Use the same stats and everything. Or one of those slots could be filled by the bard, the warlock, or the druid. No knight. So up to now, up until like, well, I guess it was November, the retail version wasn't available. So the only people that had the game either pledged the heroic tier where they got the game system and the Hasbro Pulse bonus heroes. So Sir Ragnar and the 4 gender swapped heroes, because the elf is female in the regular box now, but you can get the male elf through Hasbro Pulse. If you buy the set through, you know, Best Buy or GameStop or wherever, you don't get those bonuses. And then the knight was a separate add-on, or sometimes it was packaged with the game system through retail. But my my copy of the knight, Commander of the Guardian Knights miniature, is not supposed to ship until January 23rd. So here we are, January 7th, time of this recording. But yeah, there's supposed to be all this sound in the game. There's narration, and I think the mentor voice actor does a pretty good job. But the Morcar Zargon voice actor is just so over the top. It's so weird. I commented in the other video. It's like someone's doing an impression of Mark Hamill doing an impression of the Joker. It's just really weird. Very comical. It's like Saturday morning cartoon supervillain. And, you know, I guess it's aimed at 10-year-olds, so whatever. But I would have respected it more if it was like a Christopher Lee, like Saruman type voice. But maybe they thought that'd be too similar to Mentor, you know, the stereotypical wizard. And it only lets you go through the 14 quests, and then, of course, now the 10 from Keller's Keep and Return of the Witch Lord, in any order you want to play them. The rules are identical to the remake, but they give you those mythic exclusive heroes. So now that the retail version is out, people don't get those heroes, and it's like, okay, are you just taunting me with a product I can't buy? Unless I go onto eBay and pay, like, you know, a huge markup. But there is the thought that, well, during the Hasbro Pulse campaign, these heroes were basically free. They were just like, here's a playtest, and they showed us like all their abilities, and you could just write it out on paper, print your own cards, whatever you wanted to do, and it would be fine. Oh, we got a new person in the Discord. Okay, stream is live on HeroQuest fans Twitch. Just gonna send him a quick link to this new person. Yeah, we're just talking about the companion app. So the companion app works on the honor system. I've said this a million times. Just rewind a little bit. So there's some new artwork in it, which is kind of cool because it's in the same style. There's like little quest hints. So it could be good for noobs, for brand new players, learning how to play the game. The thing is, you can skip Zargon's turn. The AI of the monsters is really basic. Like, they just make a beeline for the closest hero. Although one person was comically reporting how, like, the monsters would stop attacking the other heroes and just charge at the barbarians. So maybe they attack the strongest hero or something. But Zargon is just, yeah, he's just like brain dead as far as difficulty. And it's all in the honor system, so your hero is supposed to take damage, but if you don't subtract it from the character sheet, like that you're holding onto, that you're writing down while you're using the app, I mean, your heroes could be immortal, really. And you're supposed to roll the dice yourself, so you could, oh yeah, he got a 12 again. Again, you could just so easily just cheat yourself by doing that. And when you search for treasure, you're supposed to draw a physical card. And you tell the system if it's a wandering monster, and then the wandering monster attacks. But you have to subtract the body and mind points from your own character sheet. So again, it's honor system. So if you just wanted to go through the quest with like no difficulty, you easily could do that. But you're supposed to have your own board set up, your own dice, your own cards. Half of the artifact cards aren't even in the app. It just says refer to the card, read the card. But there's a couple things. You can do intangible furniture, so you could just walk right through furniture, which I think you would need if it's like a custom quest or a special event where, like, you know, the The bookcase is supposed to slide aside for you to walk through. That'd make the game way too easy. It's like a debugging feature. But you can't create quests with it. You can't do custom quests. The other thing is the quests never change. And you could say, well, that's true of the printed stuff as well, obviously, because the trial is always going to be exactly the way it is, 1-to-1. It's never going to change. But when you're playing the game and you are Zargon, when a human is controlling the GM, they can change things up. Okay, that room isn't there. That monster's over there. Oh, there's a different monster. Secret door here now. Oh, the treasure's a little different. You change things up so that someone can't just memorize it. And you got to make a rule, no smartphones at the table so people don't cheat. Because you could just go online easily and just look it up. Look up all the stuff. So, all right, let me just check the chat here. Yeah, so as Shadzar is saying there, you can certainly join us on Discord. And certainly can go to Ye Olde Inn. We're not affiliated with Ye Olde Inn other than most of us are members there. So it's like Chucky doing an impersonation of Luke Skywalker. Yeah, pretty much. You can hear it in another video I did. Yeah, so the companion app, I understand why they probably did it this way, because they didn't want people to just download the app and not have any reason to ever buy the game, the physical game. Because I was kind of afraid of that at first. I thought, well, they're just going to do a mobile app. It's going to be the complete game, and people are going to play it and go, that's what HeroQuest is? That's kind of cheap. That's kind of cheesy. And then most people won't buy the game. And the game will just be for super fans like us who will pay through the nose to have this, box of plastic and cardboard that we're going to keep in the shrink wrap, and when we fall in hard times, we'll sell it on eBay for $1,000. Like, no. HeroQuest is going to be a mainstream product. If they play their cards right, keep the fans happy, and you'll be able to buy it in stores for years to come. I mean, some people have already gotten their retail copies. But, yeah. So we just got through Christmas, and yeah, supposedly this month they're getting more stock in. And it was the game system first, then Return of the Witch Lord, and then Keller's Keep finally became available. Like, why did it take so long for that one? Who knows? But yeah. But as far as I can tell, other than what was reported with the expansion tiles being black on the back instead of white, I mean, it's the same. Same as the Mythic tier, except the new content isn't available. But yeah, you can see right there from the video pictures. You're supposed to write the stuff down. You're supposed to roll the dice. I mean, you could play HeroQuest with just regular standard dice if you want. Just count the 6 as a black shield, the 4 and the 5 as white shields, 1, 2, and 3 as skulls. It's a pretty easy way to do it. And you don't need a character sheet. You can just have a piece of paper. You don't need the character cards. Just write down the stats. They're pretty easy to remember. Barbarians 8, Dwarf is 7, Elf is 6, Wizard's 4 for body points. And for mind points is like the opposite. So the Wizard is 6, the Elf is 4, Dwarf is 3, Barbarian's 2. Everybody starts with the same basic defense of 2. And then the Barbarian's got 3 attack because he starts with the broadsword. Broadsword. European commercial meme. And then the dwarf and the elf get the short swords, so 2. And then the wizard gets 1 with the dagger. So anyway, apologies for the videos there. Those are just other people's stuff. So yeah, that's a Discord channel. Or Discord server, I guess is the more proper term. But yeah, we've got all kinds of stuff now, and I got to thank Shadzar for setting most of this up. Great job. We do need more moderators, though. Somebody who can keep calm and manage things. But we don't want it to be overly moderated. That's something that See, whenever I moderate stuff, it's like you're always going to run into people that don't like how you run things. And it's like, no, I can do better. It's like, great, do your own thing. But we want minimal moderation. Just keep people from trolling or starting big fights or posting stuff that's obscene or whatever. Just try to stay on topic. But we've got little channels inside for reviews, play testing, custom creations, painting. Yeah, Shadzar, he gets a little grumpy sometimes. So, um, but yeah, no. The thing is, what I found, because I've done it for years. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but um, you can't take it personally. Like you have to, sometimes you just have to step away because there's people that are just be on their computer 24/7, and they, no matter what you say, they got a rejoinder. They got to keep going at it. It's like, what you're doing is wrong, and you're unethical and you're a bad person. It's just like, chill out, man. We're just talking on the internet. We can't take it too seriously. And then you get people like, you ban them, and then they get a new IP address and they come in and like, I'm going to take your whole website down unless you let me do what I want. It's like, dude. So I don't mean to rant about that, but some people take it too far. So we just need people to be calm, collected. Just when people join, we'll give you access to one of the channels. It's called Zargon Morcar. It's like the GM channel essentially. So you can talk about spoilerific stuff, about quests and ways to be a better GM. If you just want to be a hero, you don't get to see that, so you don't see the spoilers. There's news, server suggestions. So you can make your suggestions. Doesn't mean we're going to change it, but we want to hear feedback and server rules. And really, I'm the one in charge of it. I'm the guy. I guess if I get tired of doing it, I'll just hand it over to someone else. But for now, it's mine. And Shadzar is like the behind the scenes guy, but we can't be on there all the time. So to have a few more moderators would be good. I mean, some people are on all the time, but they may not respond when you send them a message. But I just enjoy it, and it's not meant to replace any other community. It's kind of its own thing. It's really a companion for HeroQuest fans itself, for the Twitch channel, for the YouTube channel. So yeah, I'm grateful to all the people that have joined us and contributed. Let's take a look at the thing. Yep, that's true. Yeah. So I'm still learning about Discord and what's possible for Discord. Like when I first got on, I was just like, okay, it's a chat room and you can play videos. But yes, you can play games with each other. And so yeah, Shadzar had some issues with Eolden. I know some people do. I like Eolden. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm obviously not in charge there. I have no say. It's just a community that I like. I go there to share my views on HeroQuest, to hear what other people have to say. I like the mods people have posted there. Um, but yeah, if you want to be in charge, you got to start your own platform, your own niche, your own channel, server, whatever. Yeah. And Twitch is its own thing. There's another Discord that, what was the guy's name? He just posted too. I'm going to look it up because there was this other guy and he is constantly trying to get people to play Tabletop Simulator with him. And apparently he's gained like a sizable little following, which is great for him. I never got that thing working. Can we get more players? Yeah, this is the one. Make sure I'm actually looking at it. Yep, Azure. So, I mean, bless him. At first I was like, he's not getting anybody. But I looked at his channel. Actually, he's got quite a few. Let's take a quick look over here. Not competing with him. It's just his own thing. Come on. So check this out. So how to set up HeroQuest. Look, he's got all this stuff. So Tabletop Simulator is a Steam game or Steam utility, I guess you could call it. I want to say it's like 20 bucks, 25 bucks. And it lets you play like 3D rendered versions of board games. Most of them are ones that like people have made, like designed. So they've taken the textures from like HeroQuest and like this virtual cards and virtual pieces. So you don't have to have the game at all. And you can manipulate, you can roll the dice with the mouse. It's really weird though. So back when I had Windows 7, I tried to use Tabletop Simulator and it was so glitchy and buggy and annoying. But I finally kind of got it working. I was like, oh, this could be an interesting way to play. And then, sorry, dry air there. So then when I got Windows 10, and yeah, I'm using Windows, okay, make fun of me for that. But yeah, when I got Windows 10, it was like it didn't work at all. And I would go on there to Steam, and there was this long forum post about like, oh, are you having issues? Well, here's the solution. And I swear I tried everything they suggested, and it didn't work. And I just got fed up with it. I was like, fine, I guess I can play Tiddlywinks and I can play chess and backgammon and solitaire, but I can't play HeroQuest on this thing. And then with Windows 10, I really can't use it at all. Like the program won't even load up. So that's how. And I've tried reinstalling it and all this stuff. So if Tabletop Simulator works for you and you want a community that plays HeroQuest over Tabletop Simulator, go for it. For me, how I play is, now with vaccines and everything, I mean, I go visit family and friends and we play HeroQuest, you know. Or what I'll do is I'll get Zoom out and I'll point the camera at my actual board and we'll play. Now with Discord, I suppose I could do that too. I use OBS Studio, but anyway, I'm still learning what's possible. So sooner or later, I'm going to get schooled on, easier ways to play. But as long as you can get your document reader or your tripod camera pointed in the right direction, and just people have the patience, you can play a full game, and it's a lot of fun. And eventually, that's what I want to put on this channel. I want to put actual live games. I just have to get people who are comfortable, sharing their stuff. And I've seen the way some other people have done it, and it's not that hard. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment to do it. It's quite possible with humble setups like I've got. So I'm going to switch back now to regular view. We'll set normal view. So this is just some stuff I want to talk about here. So I played a lot of Battle Masters. Starting over the Thanksgiving holiday, I played the campaign. We played the first three. Let's adjust the camera here. Need to put some oil on that, I guess. So I played the campaign. The first three, and I lost the first two. I was playing as Chaos and the Chaos Army, and then the third one I won. Of course, you only get 1 point for each of those battles. Now, the next battle we would do, it would be worth 3 points. And then the last one is worth 5 points. So it's like, okay, well, I could still lose, lose that, and I could still win the war. So these are the Battle Masters um, pieces I've got here. Got this little tray. You got these little tabs. So right away you can say, oh, well, couldn't you just get some Warhammer Fantasy figures and just like put them in there? Well, yeah, you could, or you could 3D print them. I have a family member who has a 3D printer, and he finally set the whole thing up, and it's like, all right, we're gonna get some custom pieces. We're gonna get some Fimmers in here. We're gonna get some undead units. We're gonna get some dwarven units, elven units. It's gonna be great. You got to have a lot of plastic spooling for that, but yeah. And some of these are custom, so you can see how the sticker is kind of slightly different on this guy, slightly different size. That's because that's printed. So I just printed out this because the set that I got was missing a lot of stickers. The stickers had peeled completely off, and so I just kind of did my own there. So that's what that one looks like. And there's actually some people that have 3D printed the bases, but for some reason they left like this piece off, like this tab here that holds the label, and they left off this little part here that holds the elite tab. Because when a unit survives a campaign, you're supposed to put this little chit or token or tile that shows that it's an elite, which means it rolls one more. So instead of 4, it'd be 5 for attack and defense. Still is only 3 body points. but I think that's cool. The other thing we did is we played over Christmas and New Year's. We played some games where okay, so we never had a table that was the right size. We didn't want to play on the floor because we're old people with we couldn't just kneel for hours or just lay on the floor for hours. Game only takes between 1 to 2 hours, I would say. So it's a little shorter than Hero Quest. If you get two people playing and they're just moving right along, not a lot of crosstalk, not a lot of arguing. Um, you can buy these. They're for photography. It's almost like a hula hoop that has cloth over it. That's the easiest way I can describe it. But it folds up it's more like a Mobius strip kind of thing. But it's got like blue or green, so for blue or green screen work, chroma key work. But anyway, that is just the right size to put on top of a table and then put the Battle Masters mat on it and then put all the, figure trays onto it. It works really well. You just can't lean on it with your elbow or something. The whole thing will tip over. But those things are kind of expensive. So the other thing that we thought of was to just put like these foam core mats. This is like a project board or a foam board. To just like put a bunch of those on the table. But then again, you still get the problem where it kind of bends a little bit and you can't lean on it. But yeah, some people play it on top of a bed, but I mean, when you're tired, you got to go to bed. Can't pick it up the next day. And if you leave it on the floor, you're going to step on the little spears. So, but anyway, it was just kind of a cool little thing. Yeah. Okay. Some more Battle Masters talk here. So, we've got Chaos Warriors. I don't think the miniatures in Battle Masters are as good as the ones in Hero Quest. I mean, they look pretty nice, but if you were just to take these directly and put them into Hero Quest, it'd be kind of like not as good. But I will admit the set that I got is pretty beat up, so I may be just biased a little bit in that regard. But these work fine for what they are, which is just, you're moving this guy along. So what's next? Okay, so Chaos Army. We've got the Wolf Riders. And as you can see, they've got sticky tack, these little fancy saddles. This is just poster tack or sticky tack. It's like a kind of a cross between like chewing gum and clay. And you can stick it to walls rather than using staples or tape or glue. And you can just kind of peel it off, but it'll fill in the gaps. Oops. I knew that was going to happen. So with these guys came in the first set that I got off eBay. So I printed that shield there. The spears they were just like that. They were broken. There's no spear there. So it's not like I could glue it on. So I made these out of like little plastic coated paper clips. And I just put a layer of paint on that, cut it, and this is just green stuff. So it looks like a Stone Age spear. So yeah, it's nothing fancy at all. I'm not the sculptor that I thought it was. And also I found out if you are trying to get these in the groove, some of these tabs are kind of worn and so they don't fit in perfectly. If you're pressing down on it, don't press down on the tail here because I broke one of the tails right off. So like I said, the plastic is not quite as high quality as the HeroQuest figures. But now this is from the makers of HeroQuest. Supposedly Stephen Baker either designed it or had the idea for it or something. Here's the Ogre Champion. Looks familiar, right? But this is a completely different design than any of the other ogres that appears in HeroQuest. It's black, so it's kind of hard to see the detail, but I think it looks awesome. And yes, he's bigger in scale than the other ogres too. And his arms don't move. So we got him there. That's some more Chaos Warriors, and how can you not love these little flags? And really, as I said in another video, you can easily just get like one of these bamboo skewers and just kind of like trim it a little bit whittle it a little bit, and it'll go right in there. Oh, Sik Hashem. Yeah. He started playing and he broke his wolf tail. Well, congratulations. You've now joined the Broken Wolf Tail clan. Oh, or something. I don't know. That it sounds like something that would go in the game. Yeah, they're kind of cheap. And once again, we've got, and I guess this, I feel like I'm redoing the same video that I did with Battle Masters, except this time I actually have put everything together to see exactly what's missing and condition of stuff. So you can see there's some stress marks on some of those swords for the goblins. These goblins are smaller, believe it or not, than the HeroQuest goblins. Yeah, so where are my ogres? You know what? I'm gonna go get some ogres so you can see. Cause yeah, what's the point of me talking about it when I can just show you, right? Show don't tell. That's what they always say. It's like show and tell in school. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some of those HeroQuest ogres. Good suggestion. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I know we need the Dead Alewives Watchtower in here. Kid talking about, ogres. I got an ogre slaying knife. It's +7 against ogres. Yeah, sorry, a little South Park in there too. Well, anyway, yeah. So I don't have those overpriced rare sets, but I do have a couple of pieces. So let's see here. This is, and it looks gray. It's just the lighting. Blame the lighting, but he's like a grayish blue, almost a purple. Some that could be aging, but you can see, the arms move. This is the Elf Quest pack ogre. This is the ogre warrior from um, against the ogre horde, the European pack. So you can see it's the same figure, it's just different color, right? And there's variants too. So this is the black one, and yes, I had to buy this one off a guy online. But yeah, so if you want to compare, so let's so there's the Battle Masters, there's HeroQuest. So maybe for easier contrast. Obviously, this guy's got a big base on him, but yeah, there's quite a bit larger. And this doesn't move at all because it's just two pieces. So like that. If that helps. I kind of thought, well, what about this? What if if you're trying to mix and match? Because everybody wants to ask. Well, you could have like that. Of course, there's nothing that holds them on there. I have seen. I'm trying to think if it's Thingiverse or Yegi, because there's all these websites that have like 3D printable STL files, and one of them he printed his own version of the base. Unfortunately, it says 3 crossbowmen on one side, so you'd have to change that to whatever you wanted. But what he did was, instead of having these grooves like this, he had it just flat, but then he had like cutouts that were the exact shape of like the HeroQuest bases. So you could just like slot your guys in there. Of course, he was doing it for crossbowmen, so he had them all like sideways, like that. But you could do it such that instead of having to modify all your HeroQuest figures to fit this, or buying, expensive Oldhammer figures to fit in, you could just custom print those bases and then just slot them in there. So that's kind of what I want to do. I'm going to try to do that. So then I can just get a bunch of Fimmers, get a bunch of skeletons, whatever. Because as cool as it is to get those Warhammer fantasy figures, they're hard to find, they're expensive, and part of me is just like, you know what? I'm depriving some hardcore Oldhammer fan of, his stuff. Don't forget to change category if not talking about HeroQuest anymore. Well, I'm still talking about HeroQuest, so I'll take my chances. Thanks, though, for the friendly warning. Yeah, so there's another black figure. It's just a mercenary. This is actually the first one that I got. There was like a pack of 6 of these for like $35 on eBay, and it was like, what? And they're black. Cool. And it's like, nope, they're not primed. They're actually black plastic, unpainted. And I've already shown these other ones. So these are like the European undead figures. So they got the little beveled edge, and they're white. They're actually white. They're not yellow. But yeah. But yeah, I know you could just paint them yourself, but I like the idea that, yeah, these are original figures and you could always. All right, catch you later, Shadzar. Yeah. The fact that you can have multiple mercenaries and it's like hard to tell like which ones are which. So it's like, okay, you could have some black ones, you could have some gray ones, you could have some red ones. I don't have any gray ones actually. I just have some red ones. And they're still on the sprues. I haven't had a need for them yet. But yeah, so back to Battle Masters. So good question about the ogres. And there's 3D printed versions of the ogre Battle Master. He's actually called the ogre mercenary, just the ogre. People like shrunk him down and put him on a HeroQuest base, and he still looks pretty cool. I have ones, and I painted in blue. But yeah, Battle Masters is its own game. It's like a simplified war game, whereas HeroQuest is a simplified dungeon crawler. So, but I feel like there's a lot less customization. There's a lot less variety, creativity in Battle Masters. I mean, yeah, the way you play it though, you do your campaign. It's 5 missions. That's it. But when you have your 2 armies, you can pick a side. So Chaos always picks first. So let's say you pick this side. You go here, Empire goes here. And you could do the other way. You could do, okay, Chaos is here, Empire's here, or vice versa. And when you're setting up your armies, you're just like, okay, you just take the first 2 rows of hexes, because it's a hex map, and you can put your miniatures wherever you want. So maybe you want to put like the big guys on the sides or put them in the middle or every other one. Or maybe you want to put your archers in a certain spot. It's all based on card draws. It's not based on dice rolls. So everybody only gets to move once. But there's all kinds of mods you could do. I mean, you could put heroes in here. You could put magic because there's no magic. There's just the cannon, which is kind of magical sometimes, but it's all just fighting. And you could use actual HeroQuest dice instead of the Battle Masters dice. And because the way you defend, it's like, okay, skulls are still hits, and there's still 3 skulls on a die. But the shields, there's only 1 shield. So 1 in 6 chance you're going to defend. But if you used HeroQuest dice and counted white shields, you double your defense. Now you double the length of the game, so maybe it'll suddenly be a 2 or 4 hour game instead of whatever. The other thing is you can play with more than 2 players. You can have maybe one person he'll control all the guys on foot, or he'll control all the Chaos Warriors, or he'll control all the mounted characters, or whatever. So anyway, back to Battle Masters. Here's some orcs. So those guys, they actually look pretty cool. They look very similar to the HeroQuest orcs, but I think in a lot of the close-up pictures, see, these are darker green. There's a brighter green color because there's color variance with this, just like HeroQuest. These guys are a little more smiley and goofy and cartoonish looking compared to the HeroQuest orcs, but I think they look pretty decent. Of course, I mean, they've got lots more armor. They've got different swords. It's similar, very similar style. And yes, Games Workshop did do these. So let's see, what else do we have here? These are the Beastmen. It's hard to see, but it's like a kind of a minotaur. It kind of looks a little bit like the monster that you see on the monster card for HeroQuest, except he's got longer horns. He's got those like fawn legs, goat legs. That axe looks familiar, doesn't it? Just looks like the Chaos Warrior axe. So Beastmen. Now Beastmen, they have three, just like the orcs do. The Chaos side has several units that only have two. Of course, people always say, "Oh, the goblins, they have such lucky rolls." It's like, who knows why sometimes. And the Wolf Riders are only two as well. And the Chaos has more units than the Imperials do. The Imperials have, let's see, 11 trays or unit. I mean, if you count one of these trays as a unit, they have 11 units, and Chaos has 14. There's actually more Chaos cards in the deck. There's 59 cards in the deck, but several people have said, "Oh, the Empire has an advantage." Is that because of the cannon? Who knows? But in HeroQuest, I mean, the odds are definitely stacked in favor of the heroes winning. Um, oops, sorry, just responding to a message. No fire. No fire. Everything was safe. Yeah, so somebody I know is in the chat, I think, so welcome. Don't say your name. Okay, so this is the cannon, the mighty cannon. I think that's pretty cool. I think when I first saw this, I thought, oh no, they've got gunpowder in the HeroQuest world. That's going to throw everything off. I mean, in Warhammer Fantasy, they do the same thing. I mean, they've got muskets and or blunderbusses or hand cannons, whatever you want to call them. But then I thought, you know what? It's we're still talking about the same universe where they've got magic. So yeah, the average warrior just uses his armor and his sword, spear, crossbow. But then you've got this magic guy who's throwing fireballs everywhere and zapping people with lightning. How's that fair, you know? Wouldn't that change? Oh, it's special training. Not everybody has it. Well, can't you just give a musket to everybody? Well, maybe gunpowder is hard to make or it's heavily regulated or it's like the Greeks and their Greek fire. I mean, just because they had it didn't mean everybody had it. But whatever. The cannon is very powerful. I mean, it can theoretically blast through and destroy multiple units, but it can also destroy itself. It can also damage your friendly units, and it only defends with two. And just like the archers, it can either move or attack. It can't do both on a turn. So I printed up my own deck of replacement cards for Battle Masters and with linen finish, which makes them easier to shuffle. And they're bridge size. And I tried to make the game more interesting by adding reinforcements cards. So the idea would be, okay, it's a regular movement card, but if you draw it and that unit is dead, you get to bring them back. The problem is I forgot to take them out after a round or two because otherwise you could get lucky and just somebody gets killed and you just bring them right back. And the game never ends. No one can ever win. Because most of the battles, the object is just to wipe out the other army. Oh yeah, I pointed out the campaign is only 5 missions. When you're fighting, you choose a side, you choose your variety of sides, and it's all about tactics. And what else do you do? Well, you've got these tiles that show terrain. So since there's 4 of them, I decided, okay, one person gets to place 2 of them wherever they want. The other person gets to place 2 wherever they want. There's 4 barricades. One person gets 2, the other person gets 2. Place them where you want. So that can add variety to the game. But I mean, even the map itself is just the same image copied like 4 times, 3 or 4 times. So it's just there's a river on one side. Okay, if you start on the river, that's a bit of a disadvantage. If you've got the tower, because you can put the tower wherever you want in theory, usually put it in the middle. It's like, okay, if you get the tower, that's a bit of an advantage. There's one campaign mission where if Chaos takes the tower, they just automatically win. And I think there's another one where if they get all their surviving army to a certain area, they win. but otherwise it's always just fight to the finish. So once you're down to a couple pieces, it's like playing chess and all you've got left is the king and a couple pawns. You basically are going to resign, but there's no resign in this. So yeah, I got the men at arms. This is a very common unit, and as you can see, I've used the sticky tack or poster tack to keep them down there. And I pointed out my lack of sculpting skills. Once I get to that, yeah, here we go. So for these guys, notice how it's a different shade of gray there. This guy here is missing the top of his halberd. Now, if it were just a spear, I have an easy fix. Notice the reproduce sticker there for the shield. There's an easy fix. So there are these plastic cocktail spears you can get. It's so cool. I loved them as a kid. I still love them now. So you can buy these things. So just really cheap plastic swords, for your cocktail. Um, get your olive out of your drink, stir your drink, or put a little fancy touch on your club sandwich. They're just like pennies a piece. So you get those, and there's all kinds of variations out there. So these little swords. Obviously, the scale is wrong, but I mean, you could take the tip of the blade, which is actually how I repaired some of the lances. I repaired some of the lances using these little cocktail spears, whatever you want to call them. Cocktail swords, drink spears. There's another one. It's like a little like fork. Same idea. Hors d'oeuvre, spear, skewer. You can file those off and use them. Or one thing I did was I cut the tip off there of that one and used it as like a little jewel to put on the end of the wizard's staff. So there's all kinds of little fun things you can do. And I have some more here somewhere. Probably not close. Yeah, not easy access, but they're an actual spear. It looks like a spear, and the spear tip is perfect. But I don't have anything that looks like a halberd, an actual halberd. And so I thought, well, I could just sculpt it myself. And I tried, and it just looked silly. And it's like, okay, I guess I'm not that talented. And I thought, well, I can make a mold of it. And I tried, and it was all sticky. It did not work very well. It did not work how I planned. So rather than track down and get like a Warhammer figure and like file it down and glue it on there, I thought I'm either gonna just 3D print, like 3D print this part here and just like fit it over, like maybe have a little like extra glove or something and just fit it on there. That'd be perfect. Or Or what I'm going to do is Reaper Bones recently released this weapons pack, and they've done it before. They call them bits or weapons, except instead of metal, it's plastic. And they have a bunch of axes, and I could just like cut one of them down to size, assuming the scale is right, because these guys are pretty small, and just put it on there. Of course, then his axe would look slightly different than everyone else's. But anyway, yeah, it's just one of those things. And I could actually buy another one that's just perfect, but my other challenge here, and I'll probably have to do, of course, this is a little bit easier. So we've got the archers, good old archers. These guys can hit 2 squares away. But notice this guy, I just put paper because his bow was broken. The bow had been broken. And I could get some green stuff and just put it more or less in the little snake shape. That'd be pretty easy compared to recreating a halberd or having to 3D print it. Again, the Reaper weapons could come in handy, but their bows are like recurve bows. These are more like war bows, where it's just more of just like a U shape, a flattened U shape. It doesn't have that recurve on it. And Reaper uses that bendy plastic, so it's not like you can just bend it and hope that it's going to stay in that position. It's just going to bounce right back because it's rubbery plastic, which makes it incredibly durable. But that's how it is. So got some more of these guys here. Let's see, have I put everyone to sleep talking about Battle Masters? Hopefully not. Okay, so I got Ninatella and Lanare. So welcome to the new people checking out HeroQuest fans. So I'm talking about Battle Masters here. I've been comparing it to HeroQuest because a lot of people don't seem interested in Battle Masters at all. They just hear that, oh, it's got Games Workshop miniatures. I better buy that so I can cannibalize it for my HeroQuest game. Well, in my opinion, these figures are inferior to HeroQuest. I mean, the plastic is a little cheaper. The scale is just a little bit different. I mean, with the monsters, okay, you can say, yeah, this it's a little bit bigger orc or ogre, a little bit smaller goblin, but with the humans, it's like, they don't look that great. But people have, I would say, if you're interested in it just for the miniatures, don't even bother buying it. Instead, you should go online and look up one of these 3D printing pages, like what was it, Thingiverse, Yegi, I forget what the other ones are called, but they have miniatures where someone has just taken this and given it a HeroQuest base and just scaled it just right. And I've actually gotten some of those done myself. So, and then you can throw those into your dungeon. Because honestly, are you really going to put a cannon in your corridor? That'd be kind of funny. Are you going to put a guy on horseback like charging through the? Maybe if you had like an outdoor quest. But Battle Masters is just a different game. And yeah, if you're desperate for more miniatures, I suppose do whatever you want. I guess that's another good thing about the remake is that since the style is different, you can get Reaper or Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons, and you can take those figures and just kind of plunk them down, and they don't look that out of place, really. So I apologize for my voice there. It's really dry. I've got lozenges. I got water. I know I don't have the Rona. It's just dry. And yeah, one of my neighbors was cooking, and I think they overcooked the stuff and set off their fire alarm. So it wasn't anything to worry about. But I was just kind of like, hope the place isn't burning down. All right, Shadzar is cooking stuff. So sorry, just dropped something there. Okay, so I think we are getting close to the end here, but I just wanted to show a couple more things. So I was particularly proud of these guys. As you can see, that's how he fits on the horse. So no need for any sticky tack there. But yeah, this guy has a pre. Uh, well, I printed that banner to replace the one that was missing. Actually, the person that had this one, they stuck some of their stickers to the box. I guess the head of that spear has been chipped off, so I could sharpen that. Put a little bit of acrylic Vallejo plastic putty on the end to make a point. I think that's what I'll do. It's just like repairing the candlesticks from HeroQuest. See, tied it right back in there. So this is a cool unit. These are the Imperial Lord Knights. So they're the strongest unit for the Imperial side. Once you lose these guys, it's like, oh man, I'm in big trouble now. You lose those guys in your cannon, you might as well give up. But you can't. I think it'd be cool if you have your guys like retreat off the board and maybe you get to use them next time, but you don't get the elite unit perhaps because they had to run rather than winning the day with their fighting prowess. Show off some more pieces here. Show off. Okay, I'm just gonna adjust my camera here. It's at this point that I should have like, and support us on Patreon so that we can buy better equipment, but we don't have that. So thanks anyway. This is the tower, the classic tower, which is very easy to assemble if you follow the instructions. If you just try to put it together on your own, you'll probably have a heck of a time. But yeah, it's just hollow. Doesn't work as a dice tower, sorry. It only fits together one way. See, there's like little teeth there. So I've seen people have painted this too, like they painted everything. And it's like, oh, looks pretty decent, but I don't have the desire to do that right now. So these are what the actual spears look like. So I got these from another guy. I got a huge refund from the first seller because he basically said it was complete and it wasn't. So I just ended up taking the money that I saved from the refund and then using it to buy the missing pieces from another seller. So obviously these are much nicer looking. But the sprues that these guys are on, they had these really weird, like, I'm not going to be immature, but a big green thing coming down here. And it was so big that there was no way it was going to fit into that little hole on top of the wolf. So I just trimmed the whole thing off. So just use the sticky tack. Sticky tack comes in different colors. It'd be cool. You'd get like a brown or gray for like a saddle. Almost looks like a saddle. Like he's just got a little like blanket they threw over the top of the wolf so you can have some comfortable seating. So wolf riders, only 2. Let's see, what else do we have here? Chaos archers. I think they're called like Chaos Thug Archers or something. So Thug Life. These guys, they're humans. Yeah, they're weak, and they've got the like kind of more recurve bow type thing. One of those guys fell off because there's supposed to be 5 on there. He's somewhere in here. But yeah, none of those guys had broken bows. Well, that one's got some stress on it. Yeah, it's the same type of plastic, or a cheaper version of the plastic used in the HeroQuest miniatures. So these guys can fire 2 squares away, or 2 hexes away. I always want to say squares. Whereas the Empire gets these crossbow guys who can shoot 3 away. So as you can see, the Empire does have some advantages. It's like better units. Is this guy darker red? Oh yeah, these guys are darker red. So this may have been like a couple of sets that were mixed together because there's variations. There's different shades of red, different shades of gray, different shades of green. So the Chaos side has the Champions of Chaos. So these guys are. And one of these guys had a broken lance that I had to glue back together. I believe it was this one. So I lucked out there. Pretty powerful dudes. Evil dudes. Chaos dudes. More goblins. Now the European version, these bases would all be green. The same green color. And these flagpoles would all be kind of a beige color. So they introduced some more color variety in the North American version, which I think was a good idea. Now the reinforcement packs were only released in Europe, and there was no new units. I mean, they just gave them new names and new stickers for the flags. But when I finally get some 3D printing access, I can get some of those made just to kind of supplement. Because I like the idea of having reinforcements, just can't go overboard because the game would just go on forever. Oh yeah, with these guys. So the guy in the center, I made that lance out of those cocktail skewers that I mentioned earlier, and then the tip is just green stuff. So yeah, it looks like a stone head, like Stone Age arrowhead rather than a neatly formed iron tip. But from far away, looks good enough. From 20 feet away, it looks perfect. So Imperial Knights. Yeah, I'd rather be playing this game live, but I just don't have anybody with me right now. Over the break, nobody really wanted to do that. It's just too much of a hassle. Here's some more orcs. Now some of these flags are a little off, but that's okay. It gives them character. I could have I could have reprinted every sticker, but I'm gonna have to rest my voice here soon. Sorry. Yeah. So this is another reason to do collaborative streams because you can save your voice. You can have somebody else talk half the time, go longer. So more nights. So yeah, you've got some colors here that you didn't see in HeroQuest. You got the bright blue, yellow, and red. So this guy came pre-painted, and some new banner, printed banner. Let's see. And then the last but not least, we've got the other archers. So my complete archer unit. And again, in this lighting, I can see clearly that some of these guys are a different shade of red. So the original guy that sold it to me must have had a set that was made from multiples, or it could have been maybe just when I put it together, I wasn't paying attention because you can see that the men at arms, there's like a light gray, medium gray, and a dark gray. So you could mix and match them, or you could have like each unit be the same color. But of course, once you put the stickers on, you're going to put them according to the stickers on the shield. Whereas, anyway, but yeah, it's just a little minor bit of trivia about the game. And then, as I've shown previously, you've got the dice, and these dice are really well beaten up, well worn, and those images are just painted on there. Yield in for Battle Masters. Have you found online resources for printing the stickers, banners, and flags? Yes, I have. So there's some stuff on Yield in, but most of the stuff that I found was actually on Board Game Geek, which I guess some people love that site, some people hate it, but for Battle Masters, they had much better resources than Yield in, which makes sense because Yield in is focused on HeroQuest, not Battle Masters, even though we have our own section. And I say we. Let's see. Yeah, I created an account at Board Game Geek. I don't go there very often. But yeah, I'll get stuff where I can find it. Now these European dice were kind of expensive, but note the comparison here. Darker color red. The symbols are inscribed on there, so they're going to last a lot longer. And these are the exact size as the wooden HeroQuest dice. And you can see design-wise, they look much more like HeroQuest, don't they? You're just missing the black shield. You've got the two blanks. Yep. Oh, you've got them too. Yeah. I better quit talking here soon. But yeah, these are better. I think these are much better. Now, if you got two people and it's a long game and it's a long night, I mean, one person will use these and one person will use these. One person I was playing with, they kept trading off because they're like, "Oh man, I don't know if these dice are different." It's like, no, they're the same, dude. They're exactly the same. They just look different. But maybe if you got smaller hands, or if you've got poorer eyesight, there could be reasons why you'd prefer one to the other. I'm probably going to take some gloss varnish or matte varnish probably and just clear coat that to protect it. Because if you rub that or scratch it, you could just take it right off, I'm sure, easily. And I'm not going to buy another set of these. I thought about going to Board Games Maker and having some like custom dice made, but since I've got these, it's kind of like, why bother? These are better anyway. Because the way they'll do it, Board Games Maker is like the make playing cards version of, for board games. They'll give you white dice that are inscribed, or they'll give you dice any color you want that have an image just printed on. And I got some, and it's a pretty decent job. It's not just like painted on, it's like printed on. But it definitely has a different look than this. I mean, it's pretty hard to get this unless you're carving it out of wood or, I don't know, just you have your own molds to make it or something. I mean, the Spiel Warren Sloon guy from Germany, I mean, he just basically does this, except he has the rounded corners on his dice. And I asked him one time, it's like, well, why don't you make some Battle Masters dice? And he's like, well, the demand is just too low. It's not worth my time. It's like, okay, darn. But really, to create this, all you got to do is just take a HeroQuest die, and that is a black shield. Or what you could do is you could just rub off the black shield, rub off one of the white shields, and then just keep one, and then leave the skulls alone, and you have it. And just get it in red and white. Of course, I don't think he has a red and white. He has a gold and red. Yeah, he's a gold and red one. It's pretty close. But I don't see why you couldn't just be like, hey man, can you do some custom dice for me? I'll just pay an extra dollar, extra $2 or whatever. Of course, maybe he has to make them in big batches to justify it, and that's why he wouldn't do it. But he's the guy that sells like the purple dice and the green dice and the black dice, blue dice, orange, yellow dice with like different values on them. So like sometimes it's a double skull or a double shield or whatever. These are what the skull tiles look like for Battle Masters, and as you can see, it's obviously it's different than the HeroQuest one. It's got the big teeth, tusks, but you use these as damage counters. So actually, the set that I got here, he actually threw a HeroQuest one in there by mistake. So now I've got an extra one of those. It's funny because I mean it looks so similar, except that it's got like a rock block on the back. Here's those barricades I was talking about. There's two different shades of green for these, but I mean I've just got the one. It really just blocks movement is all it does. And then here are the hex tiles. There's a marsh. That's a fortification. It's just like a barrier. There's a marsh. So it's just an obstacle you got to go around. And then these are just cardboard. This reminds me of the cardboard used for like the HeroQuest character tiles in the classic game. This part was ripped, so I think I'm just going to reprint. I mean, I could reprint the whole thing, but I think I'm just going to reprint like that part of it and just like cut it and just like glue it on. Just the paper, because it's just paper. These have kind of a satin finish, not a gloss or true matte finish. This is a ford, so this lets you ford the water because normally you can't ford the water unless it shows like a rock path or something you can go through. So Hashem, if you're still in the chat, which I think you are, what were your thoughts on Battle Masters? What did you think of the game? Did you like it? I mean, as a HeroQuest player, what was your impression? This is for the canon. If you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts here. I mean, I know that we talk on Discord as well. Yeah, when I said I wanted to keep the boot, yeah. As much as I want to keep HeroQuest fans on HeroQuest, like I'm okay talking about this game because this is from the makers of HeroQuest. This has a lot of common interest. I mean, probably not D&D because I don't play D&D. I've played like Star Wars Dungeons and Dragons a few times, and like I played a superhero Dungeons and Dragons one time, so I'm just not very knowledgeable about it. Warhammer Fantasy, I mean, it's cool to hear the lore and stuff, but yeah, I had to buy a book to learn about Warhammer Fantasy. Like I bought the illustrated guide to the Warhammer world, which was kind of cool, and then it kind of helped me think of ideas for what I would want the HeroQuest world to be like. So I just showed you the cannon tile. So the cannon, it's like you put this on the target up to 8 squares away, which is an explosion which kills the unit. So just instant death. But you have to toot a trail of these units back to your cannon. It's supposed to be, okay, that's a bounce, so that's an instant 1 damage. And then we've got, that's a miss, so it does no damage at all. And then, of course, the explosion, which is, it destroys it. Now, If the first one that you draw is an explosion, then that's a misfire and it can damage the cannon. But it's not an instant death for the cannon. I watched some people play and I think they did it wrong. They just were like, not this one, but they turned it up and they're like, oh, an explosion, you're destroyed. Wrong. You're supposed to turn this one over and you draw another one. And if the second one is an explosion, then it destroys the cannon. And that can happen if you're shooting a unit right next to you as well. You risk losing your own unit. You can shoot the tower every time the tower takes a hit, which I believe is just an explosion. I don't think it's a bounce. And once it takes its third hit, you remove the tower and just leave the rubble behind, and no one can use it. But being on top of the tower is pretty good. You can take one of your weak units like the goblin and make them a little stronger because they get one extra attack, one extra defense, and the person that's attacking them attacks with one less. So it's really like two, if I'm reading that right. Okay. Okay, so Shem, he's saying, haven't played it yet. Oh, I thought you had played it. Sorry. Yeah, I agree with you. So for me, I'm always like, Hero Quest is the game you don't need to know the whole story. All you need to know is here's a quest, go get Sir Ragnar, go get the gold, kill the orcs, kill the, monsters and get out alive. That's all you need to know. Yeah, it's cool to know that there was this guy mentor and his student Morcar or Zargon went bananas and you had to go track him down to the ends of the earth. But the wider stuff, what's the history of the empire? Where did chaos come from? Why are there monsters in the world? What's the story about the elves? What's the dwarves' history? That stuff isn't that important. But it is kind of cool to see, well, what was the background? Because Warhammer Fantasy 3rd edition was out. They were making Hero Quest. It's like a simplified dungeon crawler version of this war game because that's what Warhammer Fantasy is. Let's see, Fantasy Battle came out in the 80s, and it was a war game, fantasy war game. And Fantasy Roleplay was in the 2000s, and I think that was a dungeon crawler, but it was an RPG. But that was long after Hero Quest was dead, so I guess there was Warhammer Quest, which could be played like Hero Quest, like a just straight up board game, or you could play it as an RPG with the miniatures, which is a cool thing. But I mean, that came out in the late 90s, and that was like by that time I wasn't even paying attention to that kind of stuff. And even then, it was gone so quick, and it's so expensive. I mean, Games Workshop releases something, and it's like gone the next day, practically sold out immediately. Everything's limited edition, special. I mean, unless you're getting 40K or Age of Sigmar, different business model. Oh yeah, the illustrated guide. So where is it? I can try to find it here. I'll see if I can go find it. See, don't you love the interactivity of Twitch? Just don't get me into a hot tub. Just kidding. All right, just a moment. I think I know where it is, and I think I can find. Let me see if I can find it, and I'll show you. Be right back. All right. Is it the World of Warhammer official illustrated guide? Why, yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. How much did I pay for it? I'm trying to remember. Oh, that camera's dead. Darn. Okay. So let me just adjust this camera here. This. Sorry, it's called Games Workshop, The World of Warhammer, the official illustrated guide to the fantasy world. Yeah, some of the prices they charge for these things are just outrageous. So this was $21.95 originally. How much did I pay for it? I don't remember. But it was definitely not that expensive. I want to say it was like 45, maybe 50 at the most with shipping. I doubt I paid that much for it. Most of the stuff on eBay these days, like they'll give you like you look at it and you close your browser and you come back the next day and it's like, oh, you've been given an offer of like 8% off, or you can just say, hey, listen, I really want to buy this, but I only want to pay this amount. And they'll negotiate with you sometimes. It's like, no, I've already lowered the price as much as possible. But other times they'll be like, sure, whatever you want, man, just do it. So now this guide is from, and people say, oh, some of the guides are better. This is from 1998, so this is obviously post Hero Quest. But this was the most affordable one that I could get that was going to be useful for what I wanted to do, which was just get a basic primer on Warhammer Fantasy, but also look at the lore to give me ideas for my world. So the world that I was working on is, I call it the Demagicified world. So the Warhammer Fantasy world is like, basically, I forget now if it's supposed to be the future of 40K. Is this? Or if this ended and this was the past of 40K. But basically, these aliens came to a planet, and they were like reptilians and frogmen or something. I'm just giving you the bastardized version that I remember. And I think the main aliens died, and so their servants lived up. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here. It's just, it's such a beautiful story. I'm getting all choked up over it. Just kidding. But yeah, the the alien servants get left behind, and so it's like medieval. And there's oh yeah, the elves, the humans, and the dwarves are left, and I guess they get kind of uplifted for a while. So there's one of the alien guys that survived. So it's like these guys, lizard guys and frog guys, which I didn't incorporate into my world. Then you got the high elves. They were high, man. Different kinds of elves. I guess there's wood elves and there's dark elves. There's dwarves and chaos dwarves. And the Bretonnians, which were different than the Empire, which I didn't realize. I just thought all the humans were together, but apparently the Empire is like the Roman Empire, and the Bretonnians are like King Arthur and stuff. But it's like a mixture of history and fantasy, and there's like undead, so there's liches, so they're like you got ogres and more undead, and then the chaos warriors. And they talk about the chaos gods as if they're actual like physical beings, and it's a whole like mythology. So it's like the in my story, I just simplified it. So the chaos gods are the aliens, and most of them got wiped out, but some of them are just dormant, in the earth. And then crazy people try to revive them every so often, and you gotta launch a big campaign to stop them. But I guess the chaos gods are just like they're physical beings, but their strength comes from the fact that people are devoted to them. So if people are not serving them, they're weaker, I guess. But since they're tied to like human foibles, like greed, violence, lust, whatever, they're never gonna truly go away. But then chaos itself is like this energy that mutates people, and yeah, it's like who would follow that sort of thing? But there's also Warhammer Wiki online, and it's all mixed together. So it's like, okay, now which edition is this? Usually with a lot of these games, I'm interested in like where it came from, where it started. So I was trying to look for the third edition stuff, the stuff that would have been current Warhammer Fantasy at the time HeroQuest was being made in 1989, to see, well, what did they have in their heads? But I mean, Zargon, it's like he doesn't exist. I mean, there's a character called Morkar, it's spelled with a K. Another guy covered this in his YouTube channel very well. And that Morkar was a Chaos Warrior. He wasn't a wizard, he wasn't a sorcerer. Because Zargon or Morkar appears to be a human. a human sorcerer. And that whole thing, it's different. It's different in Warhammer. And it's different in different versions of Warhammer. So I do not claim to be an expert on that lore, but this book just kind of gave me a crash course in some of the stuff, and then I just made the rest up. And I figure if it contradicts Hero Quest, I'm gonna just ignore it. If it adds something, I may kind of slip it in there. But I mean, I've added other stuff that's not in here to my little world, and it's just a way to inspire you to make quests. That's really all it is. A lot of people just want to roll the dice and pick up the stuff. Oh, you got Battle Masters for 150. Sorry, I misunderstood. I was thinking you bought that book for 100 bucks. Oh, 105, excuse me. Yeah, I wouldn't pay 105 for it. For 50, sure. 40, absolutely. Less than 40, do it. Yeah, the Warhammer fantasy book, source book, core rule book, whatever you want to call it, that's probably really expensive now and hard to find. But yeah, they put all that stuff under Old Hammer. They call it Old Hammer because there's Warhammer Fantasy Battle, there's Warhammer Fantasy RPG, there's Warhammer 40,000 or 40K, which is the sci-fi version of it, which I guess started out like a parody, space orcs and stuff, and then it became the grim dark future. So everybody's insane, everybody's an anti-hero, everybody's despicable, everybody's crazy, everybody's a fanatic, everything's like polluted and corrupted and destroyed, and it's all fatalistic. And but that's just the background. In reality, you're painting your big expensive army, you're plunking them down on the table, and you're rolling like big handfuls of dice to play a game. But it's like half collecting and art, and half playing. Well, anybody have any questions? Because I feel like it's so dry in here. Like I can go for a few minutes and then I start to lose my voice again, and that's not fair to you guys because why are you tuning in just to hear me cough and complain and drink water? I really didn't have any new topics. It's just the companion app. I mean, is getting better. It's still not a substitute for playing the game with a real GM, the real Zargon, who can make clever things. Oh yeah, some people were saying how there's some weird stuff in the app. Like if you're using the rapier, which is the weapon of the bard, it only lets you attack diagonally, which is definitely an error because the card says nothing about it only being a diagonal weapon. I mean, it's just like the longsword. You can attack adjacent, you can attack diagonal. Why would you only be able to hit diagonally? So I think that's a mistake. And I think it's wrong to look to the app to clarify rules that are in the physical game. Even though the app is free and potentially more people could have the app, you still need the physical game to play. And they're not going to give you a new rule in the app that violates the rules in the physical game. It makes no sense. I think people were saying, oh, yeah, you could just say the crossbow hits someone anywhere, which is like the European rules. But I think other times they give you a line of sight check on stuff and they actually enforce it. So I don't know what's going on with that. But I just messed around with it. I didn't really play it there that much. In the PC game, it's weird because in the PC game, let's say you're trying to shoot somebody with a crossbow, you actually have to go to this overhead map because normally it's an isometric view of the game. You have to go to the map and it's like a top-down view of symbols, and you got to like click on the monster that you're trying to shoot at, and it's just really, really basic animations. It's nothing to write home about. The coolest thing about the PC game is the music and the intro cutscenes, which I think are only in the DOS version. Like you get to see Mentor, kind of, and you get to see possibly Zargon. I mean, it's like they start talking about Zargon, and you see this mean-looking wizard. But hey, I mean, everybody saw Mentor and assumed that that was Morcar or Zargon because he looked like a mean, nasty guy who was commanding monsters. But anyway, well, okay, I think I'm gonna wrap up the stream and rest my voice because I like I said, it is dry in my building, and I need to rest. But it's been fun talking about this stuff. And when there's more news, because there always is, I'll be happy to talk about that. And one of these days, hopefully soon, we are going to record a game and we are going to put it on here. And I actually have a whole bunch of those vibe videos, those HeroQuest vibes videos. Originally, that was going to be the channel. I was going to just have all these videos of just music, sound effects, and just like showing the different things that I'd created. But I don't know. I think it's more fun to just talk about it or play it rather than just kind of flash it across the screen because there's no explanation. It's like, what am I even looking at here? You know. Yep. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming to the stream. I'll be putting these videos up on YouTube, and if I have the energy, maybe I'll try to edit out some of my coughing and complaining, but or I might not, and we'll just have to pick it up next time. All right. And let me just check the Discord just real quick. Oh yeah, Battle Foam. Yeah, Battle Foam is this overpriced pick foam that they're selling like, oh, it's pre-cut to hold all your HeroQuest stuff. They did this with the first game and they're doing it with the remake. I don't even think it's worth it. Like, why would you buy a game for $100 and then spend another $100 for padding that somebody else made to put it in the box, and then you can't even close the box? It's like the box is like the lid is like an inch off the because the foam is like really, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, it's like it lifts the box up higher because the foam is like taller than the lip of the box. I don't know. It just seems like a silly thing to do. I mean, yeah, it looks cool, but we're not dealing with miniatures that are made out of like porcelain or metal that's like glued together. I mean, they're very durable. You probably don't even need that layer of protection. Plus, you've got people selling it for like $50. It's like $100 or $50. Which one do I want to buy? Hard to say. Or you could just buy the foam yourself. Like I buy these furniture pads, which I'm using for this totally different project. But I mean, I could easily take one of those, take an X-Acto knife, just cut some holes in it, and throw my miniatures into it. I mean, I've used that foam for these tackle boxes that I've got that hold my miniatures, which you've seen in other videos if you've been watching this channel on YouTube. It's really easy. I mean, yeah, it's not dark gray, but who says it has to be dark gray? Why does it have to be dark gray? Why couldn't it be yellow? Why couldn't it be beige or white or green or blue? Because you can get all those colors. And you can get it a lot cheaper at like a fabric store, hobby store, big box retail store. You can get, they call it like a furniture pad. It doesn't even have to be a high density foam, like memory foam. That would be silly to buy memory foam, but you can get a big sheet of the stuff for like $20 and you'll get more than enough for your project. I mean, yeah, it'll take some time, but it's like, okay, I paid a guy, you know, a living wage so he could take an X-Acto knife and cut holes in the foam, and I didn't have to cut the holes. Okay, whatever you want to spend your money on. But I'm just saying, for me, I would just do it myself. Much easier. And you don't have to wait for the guy to ship it to you from Germany or wherever it's coming from. You just walk into your store and get it, take it home, slice, slice, hack, hack, get your scissors out, you're done. And it'll last for 30 years or whatever, 40 years. You can do it again. All right, that's the end of the stream. Thanks, everybody, and we'll catch you next time on HeroQuest Fans. Thanks again. Stay safe. Bye.